Namaste, and welcome to another Keeping It Real with Dr. Nita podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nita Polite Wilson, CEO and founder of Dr. Nita Enterprises, where I serve as a C-suite trusted advisor and board director, helping C-suite leaders and their teams reframe diversity conversations from difficult to different. Welcome to 2023. You may have heard this next observation a lot already, but I still can't believe that 2022 has come and gone so fast. When I reflect on the past 12 months, a lot has happened to me and through me that I'm so grateful for, not the least of which is the evolution of my podcast and the widening of our community. Thank you for joining me, for encouraging me, and most of all, for sharing this content with your network. You may have noticed that I'm wearing some lovely rose-colored glasses today, and it's for a reason. Before I get into that, I want to share a few meanings behind the term rose-colored glasses, along with some examples. Grammarist tells us that rose-colored glasses describes an optimistic, cheerful way of looking at life, like seeing the silver lining behind every dark cloud. Now, this might not be the best example, but the other day, I called an office to make sure someone would be there if I drove the 15 miles out of my way for an in-person consultation. With so many people still opting to work from home, I didn't want to make any assumptions. After being assured it was a working office, I got in my car and made the trip. And sure enough, when I got there, I was the only one there. Me and the lovely type note on the double door that said, "Sorry, not sorry, we missed you." Okay, I added the not sorry part for dramatic flair. But even the security guard who made sure I found the suite said, "I could have told you nobody would be there, but I may have been wrong," so I didn't say anything. Honestly, I was upset for about 5 minutes because I knew there was a 50-50 chance that would happen. And then all of a sudden, I was reminded of another stop that was now more convenient to make that I probably wouldn't have prioritized anytime soon. So I got back in my car, made my way to my next destination, and got the solution to a very troubling issue. So, although my original bit of business didn't get handled, I was able to unexpectedly tend to something else just as important. The silver lining behind that dark cloud of disappointment was an unexpected surprise wrapped up in an opportunity. Dictionary.com says that rose-colored glasses alludes to a cheerful or optimistic view of things, usually without valid basis. Try thinking of one of the most unpleasant experiences you've had and not being able to find anything positive in it. Then, try to make up something positive about that experience anyway. I'm not even going to try and plant anything in your mind with a story of my own. You know what your lived experiences have been. And I'm sure you can think of something in your life that you might have tried to hold an optimistic view about without a valid basis for it, other than the fact that you're still here to tell the story. Finally, Urban Dictionary explains the meaning of the term rose-colored glasses as not wanting to talk about something because it might upset you or somebody else. I found this definition the most thought-provoking and relevant, especially considering the work that I do in the diversity, inclusion, and belonging space. Let's examine this definition through a couple of different lenses that aren't rose-colored. What immediately came to mind for me was the fact that many people are under the impression that diversity conversations are difficult, and for that reason, they choose not to engage in diversity conversations because it might upset them or somebody else. The question I have is, what is there to be upset about? Diversity conversations don't have to be difficult, but they are without a doubt different for many of us. Diversity conversations don't have to be hard, but we must acknowledge that they are complex. And complexity requires humility to admit it when we don't know what we don't know, and a willingness to have our awareness raised so that we can know what we need to know. The second thing that came to mind about the definition of the term rose-colored glasses as not wanting to talk about something because it might upset you or somebody else is akin to wearing blinders. Blinders create tunnel vision, which prevents us from holding a panoramic view of the world around us, both literally and figuratively. In practical terms, if you tried to drive with blinders on, how on earth would you be able to safely merge into another lane if you can't see who's already there? In the same way, how can we be expected to merge into the lives of our fellow human beings unless we're able to acknowledge the path they're on that sometimes crosses with our own? We can't, and we probably shouldn't even try. But we do, and that's what causes collisions of the soul that damage the spirit and make belonging elusive in the world and in the workplace. Now, to end on a more positive note, I want to share an excerpt from the writings of David Maxwell, editor of the Donaldsonville News in Donaldsonville, Georgia. He says, wearing rose-colored glasses isn't about choosing to live in a constant state of denial, but it is about choices. It's about changing our attitudes so we can be happier, more productive, work better with others, and enjoy each day to its fullest. On that note, this month I encourage you to put on some rose-colored glasses and join me in another real conversation from the C-suite as I talk with Dr. Beverlyn Mendez, the Chief Operating Officer at Easter Seals, Southern California. Dr. Mendez has been recognized by the LA Times B2B Publishing Division for her accomplishments as an innovator and thought leader in the field of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. In our first conversation with Dr. Mendez, she will share with us key takeaways from the How to Build a Diverse, Equitable, and Inclusive Workplace panel that she recently moderated. In our second conversation with Dr. Mendez, I'll invite her to expand on sentiments by Emily Landau that says, the more than 1 billion disabled people who exist in this world are worthy of access and full of inclusion today and tomorrow and next week and all month and next year, always. I'm looking forward to discovering how that translates in the workplace from Dr. Mendez's perspective. Next, we'll explore with Dr. Mendez the Urban Dictionary explanation of rose-colored glasses as not wanting to talk about something because it might upset you or somebody else. She'll help us understand that not wanting to talk about accessibility out of politeness because it might make you or someone else uncomfortable is actually a problem. Finally, we'll conclude this month's conversation with Dr. Mendez by talking about how organizations can reframe the discussion around accessibility from awkward to actionable by building alliances. If you'd like to listen to this podcast again to help prepare yourself for our real conversation from the C-suite with Dr. Beverlyn Mendez, please go to my website at dranita.com and click the Keeping It Real with Dr. Anita link at the top center of the landing page. Please follow, like, and send me some feedback and share with your network any broadcast that helps you reframe diversity conversations from difficult to different. Until next time, this is Dr. Anita reminding you to stay blessed and keep it real.